I fought the alien Gladiator. But her gaze was the real killer. The sky burned red as Jack's ship spiraled out of control. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and the cockpit smelled of smoke and metal. He gripped the controls, sweat dripping down his face. The planet below wasn't on any human map, a jagged, rocky world with storms swirling across its surface. Jack wasn't supposed to be here. His mission was simple: scout the edge of the galaxy and report back. But something, maybe a rogue asteroid, maybe sabotage, had knocked his ship off course. Now, he was falling fast. "Hold together, you piece of junk," he muttered, yanking levers and slamming buttons. The ship groaned, metal screeching as it hit the atmosphere. Jack braced himself. He'd survived worse: pirates, black holes, even that time he ran out of fuel mid-flight and had to rig an engine from spare parts. If anyone could cheat death, it was him. The impact came like a punch to the chest. The ship smashed into the ground, skidding across sharp rocks before stopping in a cloud of dust. Jack coughed, unbuckling his harness. His head throbbed, but he was alive. He stumbled out, grabbing a survival pack: water, a flare gun, a knife. The landscape was brutal: black cliffs, glowing orange rivers, and a sky that churned like a living thing. He wasn't alone, though. He could feel it. A shadow moved atop a nearby ridge. Tall, broad, with arms like tree trunks and eyes that glinted like molten gold. Jack froze. The figure stepped closer: a Vorn, one of the galaxy's fiercest species. They were legends among pilots: 8 feet tall, skin like armor, claws that could shred steel. This one was female, her presence commanding, her gaze sharp enough to cut. She carried a spear, its tip glowing with heat. "You're a long way from home, soft skin," she said, her voice low and rough. Jack raised his hands, forcing a grin. "Yeah, well, my ride had other plans. Name's Jack. You got one?" She tilted her head, studying him. "Kalia. You're trespassing on Vorn land. Weak things don't last here." Her tone wasn't cruel, just fact. To her, he was prey. Jack's mind raced. He couldn't outfight her, not with those claws. But he'd never been one to back down. Weak? Maybe. "But I'm still standing," he said, patting the wrecked ship. "And I built this thing from scraps once. Give me a chance, and I'll surprise you." Kalia's eyes narrowed, but something flickered in them: curiosity, maybe. Before she could respond, a roar echoed across the cliffs. 3 more Vorn appeared, warriors in spiked armor, their spears raised. "Intruder," one bellowed. "He dies now." Kalia stepped forward, blocking their path. "No. This one's mine to judge." The warriors growled but didn't argue. Jack raised an eyebrow. She was protecting him? Or just claiming the kill? The leader sneered. "Then prove his worth, outcast. The pit awaits." Kalia nodded, grabbing Jack's arm. "Come, human. You want to live. Earn it." She dragged him toward a canyon where a crowd of Vorn gathered around a massive hole in the ground. Flames licked the edges, and the air stank of sulfur. Jack swallowed hard. A trial. Great. They shoved him to the edge. Below, the pit was a maze of fire, spikes, and moving shadows, something alive down there. The crowd chanted, their voices shaking the ground. Kalia leaned close, her breath warm against his ear. "Survive this, and I might listen to you. Fall, and you're forgotten." Jack smirked, adrenaline pumping. "Guess I'd better not fall then." He glanced at his pack, mind already spinning. Fire. Spikes. He could work with that. The Vorn thought strength was everything, but Jack had something they didn't: imagination. As the crowd roared, he jumped into the pit, determined to prove humans were more than soft skin and breakable bones. Jack hit the bottom of the pit hard, his boots kicking up ash and dust. The heat was suffocating, flames roaring along the walls, their orange glow painting jagged shadows across the spiked stone floor. Above, the Vorn crowd thundered, their cheers a deafening rumble. Jack wiped sweat from his brow and scanned the pit. It wasn't just fire, there were traps everywhere. Metal spikes jutted from the ground, some dripping with a green liquid that sizzled when it hit the rocks. And then he heard it, a low, guttural growl. Something big was moving in the shadows. He tightened his grip on the survival pack. "Okay, Jack, think fast," he muttered. The Vorn thought this was a test of strength, but he'd show them it was about brains too. He unzipped the pack, pulling out the flare gun, knife, and water pouch. Not much, but it'd have to do. Kalia watched from the edge, her golden eyes locked on him. She hadn't said much, but Jack could tell she was waiting to see if he'd prove her wrong about humans. The other Vorn jeered, their voices sharp with mockery. "Weakling," one shouted. "Burn him," another roared. Jack ignored them. He'd heard worse. The growl grew louder, and a massive shape lumbered into the light. It was a beast, twice Jack's height, with thick scales, 6 legs, and jaws lined with teeth like swords. Its eyes glowed red, and smoke curled from its nostrils. The crowd went wild. Jack's heart pounded, but he forced a grin. "Nice doggy. Let's play." The creature charged, its claws gouging the stone. Jack dove to the side, rolling as flames erupted where he'd stood. He aimed the flare gun and fired. A bright streak of light shot out, hitting the beast square in the face. It roared, rearing back, blinded for a moment. The crowd gasped, some in shock, some in anger. Jack didn't wait. He sprinted toward a cluster of spikes, the beast shaking off the flare and charging again. He needed a plan. The water pouch caught his eye. It wasn't much, but this planet was dry, maybe the heat could work for him. He ripped the pouch open, splashing water onto the ground near a flame vent. Steam hissed up, thick and blinding. The beast lunged through it, missing Jack by inches as he ducked behind a rock. "Come on, big guy, let's dance," he taunted, buying time to think. Above, Kalia's expression shifted. She leaned forward, her tail flicking. Jack wasn't just surviving, he was fighting smart. The other Vorn didn't see it yet, but she did. He wasn't like their warriors, all muscle and fury. He was something else. The beast roared again, slamming its tail into the ground. Spikes shattered, and a crack split the floor. Jack stumbled but caught himself. The green liquid from the spikes pooled near the flames, and an idea hit him. He grabbed a broken spike with his knife, careful not to touch the goo, and hurled it into the fire. The liquid ignited, sending a burst of green flame into the air. The beast howled, backing away from the heat. Jack seized the moment. He ran to the wall, where a vent spat fire in bursts. Timing it, he jumped past the flames, landing near a rusted metal grate. It was loose, he could feel it. With a grunt, he pried it open, revealing a narrow tunnel. The beast charged, too big to follow. Jack slid inside, heart racing. The crowd fell silent, then erupted in confusion. He'd vanished. Inside the tunnel, the air was cooler but tight. Jack crawled, his mind spinning. The Vorn wanted a show. He'd give them one. The tunnel sloped upward, and soon he saw light, a way out. He emerged on a ledge above the pit, covered in soot but alive. The beast below roared in frustration, trapped by its own size. The Vorn stared, stunned. Jack raised the empty flare gun like a trophy. "Not bad for a soft skin, huh?" he shouted. Some growled, others muttered, but Kalia's lips twitched, almost a smile. The lead warrior from earlier stepped forward, his spear gleaming. "You cheat," he snarled. "This is no victory." Kalia jumped down beside Jack, her presence silencing the warrior. "He survived," she said, her voice firm. "The pit doesn't care how. He passed." The warrior glared but didn't argue. Jack caught his breath, meeting Kalia's gaze. "Thanks for the vote," he said, wiping ash from his face. She didn't reply, just studied him. "You're strange, human. Most would have died." Jack chuckled. "Most don't have my charm." She snorted, but her eyes softened, just a little. The warrior growled again. "He lives, but he's no Vorn. Outcast, you claim him, take him away." Kalia nodded, grabbing Jack's arm. "Come. This isn't over." She led him from the pit, the crowd parting like a sea. Jack followed, adrenaline still buzzing. He'd survived, but he'd also piqued Kalia's interest. She wasn't like the others, ruthless, yes, but there was more to her. Something deeper. As they left, Jack glanced back at the pit. The beast still raged below, and the flames burned brighter. He'd beaten their test, but he knew this planet had more in store. Kalia's grip tightened, and he wondered, was she his ally now, or just another challenge? Either way, he wasn't done fighting, not yet. Jack stumbled as Kalia pulled him through the rocky canyons, her grip like iron. The pit's heat and the crowd's roars faded behind them, replaced by the howl of wind cutting through the cliffs. The sky churned red and black, storms brewing in the distance. Jack's legs ached, his lungs burned, but he kept pace. Kalia moved fast, her long strides eating up the ground. She hadn't said where they were going, just that they couldn't stay. "You gonna tell me the plan, or is this a surprise?" Jack asked, catching his breath. Kalia didn't look back. "The Vorn won't let this go. You shamed them. We need distance." Her voice was sharp, but there was something else in it, urgency, maybe even worry. Jack raised an eyebrow. "Shamed them? I survived their little barbecue. Shouldn't they be impressed?" Kalia stopped abruptly, turning to face him. Her golden eyes glowed in the dim light. "They don't think like you, human. Strength is honor. Tricks are weakness. You're alive because I claimed you, but they'll come for us both now." Jack nodded slowly. "So, you're an outcast, and I'm a troublemaker. Great team." She snorted, a rough sound that might have been a laugh. "You talk too much." But she didn't argue. Instead, she led him down a narrow path, hidden between two massive boulders. The air grew cooler, the ground sloping downward. Jack squinted as they entered a tunnel, dark, damp, and carved with strange patterns that glowed faintly blue. "What is this place?" he asked, brushing a hand over the wall. Kalia's tail flicked. "Old Vorn secrets. Before my kind built towers and fought for pride, we lived below. Not many remember." Jack's curiosity sparked. "And you do?" She didn't answer, just kept moving. The tunnel opened into a cavern so vast Jack's jaw dropped. A hidden city stretched before them, crumbling stone buildings, bridges of twisted metal, and machines half buried in dust. Lights flickered from broken panels, casting an eerie glow. "This is incredible," Jack said, stepping forward. He spotted a rusted device, its gears exposed. It hummed faintly, like it still had life. "Your people made this?" Kalia nodded, her expression distant. "Long ago. Before the wars turned us into hunters. Now it's forgotten." Jack knelt by the machine, pulling his knife to pry off a panel. "Forgotten doesn't mean useless." Kalia watched, arms crossed. "What are you doing?" Jack grinned, already tinkering. "Fixing it. Humans don't let good tech go to waste." He worked fast, rewiring circuits with steady hands. Sparks flew, and the machine whirred louder, its lights brightening. See? Still got some juice. Kalia tilted her head, intrigued. You're not like the others I've seen. Soft skins usually break things. Jack laughed. Give me a pile of junk, and I'll build you a miracle. He stood, wiping his hands. The machine now pulsed steadily, powering a row of lights along the cavern wall. Kalia stepped closer, her claws tapping the stone. You think small things matter. My kind only values the big, the strong. Jack met her gaze. Small things win wars when the big ones fall. For a moment, they stood in silence, the hum of the machine filling the air. Then a distant rumble shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling. Kalia tensed, her eyes narrowing. They found us. Jack grabbed his pack. Who? She didn't need to answer. A shadow loomed at the tunnel entrance, a Vorn warlord, taller and broader than the others, his armor spiked with bones. His spear crackled with energy, and his voice boomed. Outcast. You hide with this worm. Kalia stepped forward, her stance defiant. He's no worm. He survived the pit. The warlord laughed, a harsh, grating sound. A trickster's luck. I'll crush him and drag you back. Jack's mind raced. The cavern was a maze, plenty of places to hide or fight. He whispered to Kalia, we can take him. Together. She glanced at him, surprised. You'd fight beside me? Jack smirked. I don't run from a challenge. The warlord charged, spear raised. Kalia moved like lightning, clashing with him, metal sparking against metal. Jack darted to the side, grabbing a loose cable from the machine. He looped it around a pillar, waiting for the right moment. The warlord swung, forcing Kalia back. She ducked a blow, her claws slashing his armor. Jack saw his chance. He yanked the cable, tripping the warlord mid-step. The giant stumbled, and Kalia drove her shoulder into him, sending him crashing into a wall. Dust exploded around them. Jack ran to her side. Nice teamwork, he said, panting. The warlord groaned, struggling to rise. Kalia grabbed Jack's arm. He's not alone. We need to move. They fled deeper into the city, the warlord's roars echoing behind. Jack's heart pounded, but he felt alive. This wasn't just survival anymore, it was something bigger. Kalia's strength, his tricks, they were a match. As they vanished into the shadows, Jack knew the real fight was just beginning. Jack and Kalia raced through the hidden city, the warlord's roars fading behind them. The air was thick with dust, the glow of ancient machines lighting their path. Jack's mind buzzed with ideas, he'd seen what Kalia could do, and he knew what he brought to the table. Together, they weren't just running, they could fight back. He glanced at her, her golden eyes sharp even in the dim light. We can't keep dodging them forever, he said, catching his breath. We need a plan. Kalia slowed, her tail flicking. The Vorn don't forgive defiance. That warlord, Torek, he leads the hunters. He'll bring more. Jack grinned, leaning against a cracked pillar. Good. More targets. She stared at him, confused. You want to fight them? He nodded. Not just fight, win. You've got the muscle. I've got the tricks. Let's use both. Before Kalia could argue, a sound echoed through the cavern, footsteps, heavy and fast. Shadows moved along the walls. They weren't alone. Jack grabbed a rusted metal rod from the ground, testing its weight. Guess we start now. Kalia bared her claws, her stance shifting to a hunter's crouch. Stay close, human. 3 Vorn emerged from the darkness, not as big as Torek, but still towering, their armor gleaming with spikes. Outcast, one snarled. You and your pet die here. Kalia lunged, slamming into the leader with brutal force. Her claws raked his chest, sparking against metal. Jack darted to the side, swinging the rod at another's knees. It cracked against bone, and the Vorn stumbled, roaring in pain. The third swung a spear at Jack. He ducked, feeling the air whistle past his head, and kicked a pile of debris into the Vorn's face. Dust blinded the warrior, giving Kalia time to finish her opponent with a swift strike. Together, they brought down the last one, Jack tripping him, Kalia snapping his spear in half. The fight was over in seconds, the Vorn sprawled across the stone. Jack wiped sweat from his face, grinning. See? Teamwork. Kalia studied the fallen warriors, her expression hard. These were scouts. Toryx close. Then she froze, her eyes catching something in the shadows. Jack followed her gaze. Figures emerged, not hunters, but Vorn in tattered cloaks, their armor patched and dull. Outcasts like Kalia. A female stepped forward, her voice low. You fight the hunters. Why? Kalia answered, they hunt us. This human, he changes things. Jack raised a hand. Name's Jack. I don't like bullies. You. The female hesitated, then said, Lyra. We've hidden here, but Toryx rule crushes us. Jack saw the spark in her eyes, anger, hope. Then stop hiding, he said. Fight with us. Lyra glanced at the others, who nodded slowly. Kalia crossed her arms. You think they'll follow a soft skin? Jack smirked. They'll follow a win. Let's give them one. He scanned the cavern, spotting a broken machine with pipes and wires spilling out. This place is a goldmine. Help me rig it. The outcasts gathered, curious as Jack worked. He explained as he went, keeping it simple. This thing's a power core. Old, but it's got juice. We wire it to overload, set a trap. Toryx walks in, boom, lights out. Lyra tilted her head. You think small, but it's clever. Kalia watched, silent but intrigued. Soon, the trap was ready, a tangle of cables linked to the core, hidden under rubble. The ground shook again. Toryx's voice boomed through the city. Outcast. Your time ends now. He stormed in, flanked by a dozen hunters, their spears glowing hot. Jack whispered, now. Lyra triggered the trap. The core hummed, then exploded in a flash of light and smoke. Hunters staggered, blinded. Kalia roared, leading the outcasts into the chaos. Her claws slashed through armor, her golden eyes blazing like weapons of their own. Jack grabbed a spear from a fallen hunter, using it to parry a blow. He wasn't strong like the Vorn, but he was fast. He ducked and weaved, tripping hunters into each other. The outcasts fought with fury, inspired by Kalia's strength and Jack's defiance. Toryx swung at Kalia, his spear clashing with her claws. You betray your kind, he bellowed. She snarled back, you betrayed us first. Jack saw his shot. He climbed a crumbling wall, leaping onto Toryx's back. The warlord roared, thrashing, but Jack held tight, jamming the spear into a gap in his armor. Toryx howled, dropping to one knee. Kalia finished it, driving her claws into his chest. The warlord collapsed, the hunters faltering. The outcasts cheered, their voices shaking the cavern. Breathing hard, Jack slid to the ground. Told you we'd win. Kalia looked at him, her gaze intense. You're more than tricks, human. The outcasts gathered, Lyra stepping forward. We're with you. Toryx gone, but his masters won't stop. Jack nodded, adrenaline still pumping. Then we keep going. This is just the start. A distant hum filled the air, sharp, mechanical. Jack's eyes widened. That's a ship. Human ship. Kalia tensed. Your people. Jack ran to a ledge, peering through a crack in the cavern roof. A sleek vessel descended, its hull glinting in the stormy sky. His distress signal had worked. But as it landed, Jack felt a chill. Humans didn't always play nice. This rebellion was about to get bigger, and messier. The hum of the human ship grew louder, vibrating through the hidden city. Jack stood on the ledge, peering at the sleek vessel as it touched down beyond the cavern's cracked ceiling. Dust swirled in its wake, and the outcasts murmured, their golden eyes narrowing. Kalia joined Jack, her claws flexing. Your people, she said, her voice tight. What do they want? Jack shook his head. Depends. Could be rescue, or trouble. The ship's ramp lowered with a hiss, and figures stepped out. Not soldiers, but they weren't soft either, crisp uniforms, sharp eyes, hands resting near holsters. Diplomats with a bite. Jack recognized the type, they'd talk peace but shoot if it suited them. The lead figure, a tall woman with a stern face, scanned the rocky terrain. Captain Jack Riley, she called, her voice cutting through the wind. You alive? Jack grinned, stepping into view. Barely. Took you long enough. The woman didn't smile. Commander Ellis. Your signal dragged us halfway across the galaxy. What's the situation? Jack glanced at Kalia and the outcasts behind her. Complicated. These are the Vorn. I've been, making friends. Ellis's gaze flicked to Kalia, then the others. Her hand twitched near her weapon. Friends? They look like a threat. The outcasts growled low, sensing the tension. Kalia stepped forward, her presence towering. We're no threat, unless you make us one. Jack raised a hand. Easy, both sides. We're not fighting today. Ellis frowned, motioning her team to stand down. Your report said hostile aliens. These match the profile, claws, armor, predatory build. Explain. Jack took a breath, choosing his words. They're tough, sure. But they're not the enemy. I crashed here, survived their tests, and helped take down a warlord. They're with me now. The commander's eyes narrowed. You're vouching for them? Jack nodded. Yeah. They've got honor, more than some humans I've met. Ellis didn't look convinced, but she waved a scanner over the group. No active weapons. Fine. We'll talk. Inside. She pointed to the ship. Jack hesitated, glancing at Kalia. You trust this? He whispered. She snorted. No. But I'll watch them. They filed into the ship's meeting room, metal walls, glowing screens, a stark contrast to the Vorn's ancient stone. The outcasts stood stiffly, Lyra and the others clustering near Kalia. Ellis sat at a table, her team flanking her. Let's be clear, she began. Humanity's expanding. We need allies, or we neutralize risks. Which are you? Kalia's tail lashed. We don't bow to threats. Jack jumped in. They don't need to. They've got strength we can use. I've seen it, fought with it. Torix hunters were the problem, and we beat them. Ellis tapped the table. One victory doesn't prove loyalty. Your distress call flagged this planet as dangerous. My orders are to assess, not gamble. The room tensed. Jack's mind raced. Humans saw the Vorn as beasts, claws and teeth, nothing more. He had to change that. Give me a chance to show you, he said. They're not just fighters. They've got history, tech, stuff we could learn from. Ellis raised an eyebrow. Tech. Jack nodded. Old machines in their city. I got one running. Imagine what we could do together. Kalia spoke up, her voice steady. We don't need your machines. But we tire of hiding. If your kind offers respect, we'll stand with you. Ellis leaned back, studying her. Respect's earned. What's your stake, outcast? Kalia met her gaze. Freedom. Torek's kind rule through fear. This human, he fights different. We want that chance. A long silence followed. Ellis tapped her comms. Bring the crate. A crew member hauled in a box, human supplies, food, tools. Good faith, she said. But I need more than words. Jack grinned. How about action? Torek's masters are still out there. Help us stop them, and you'll see what we're worth. Before Ellis could answer, an alarm blared. A crewman shouted, incoming signatures, Vorn ships, armed. The screens lit up with red dots closing fast. Jack cursed. They're not ours. Kalia growled. Hunters. They've tracked us. Ellis stood, barking orders. Defensive positions. Riley, you'd better be right about this. The ship rocked as blasts hit the ground outside. Jack grabbed a rifle from the crate, tossing another to Lyra. Time to prove it, he said. Kalia's eyes blazed, and she nodded. They rushed out, humans and Vorn side by side. The sky was alive with enemy ships, sleek, spiked, firing energy bolts. Jack aimed, taking out a thruster. Kalia leaped, claws tearing into a low-flying craft, her gaze cutting through the chaos like a blade. The outcasts fought with fury, humans with precision. Ellis fired beside Jack, her jaw tight. They're good, she admitted. Jack grinned. Told you. The battle raged, but together, they held the line. Ships crashed, hunters retreated. As the dust settled, Ellis lowered her weapon. All right, Riley. They've got grit. We'll negotiate. Jack exhaled, meeting Kalia's gaze. Truce, he asked. She nodded, a faint smile breaking through. For now. The humans and Vorn stood together, a fragile bond forged in fire. But Jack knew the real test was still ahead, something bigger was coming, and they'd need each other to face it. The battlefield smoked, littered with wrecked Vorn ships and the echoes of victory. Jack stood beside Kalia, catching his breath as Commander Ellis barked orders to her crew. The human ship hummed, its guns cooling, while the outcasts regrouped, their golden eyes scanning the horizon. The truce held, for now. Jack wiped soot from his face, grinning at Kalia. Not bad, huh? Humans and Vorn, kicking tail together. Kalia's tail flicked, her gaze sharp. It's a start. But hunters don't give up easy. Before Jack could reply, a chill ran through him. The air shifted, thicker, heavier, like something alive. Ellis's scanner beeped wildly. Energy spike, she shouted. Unknown source. Jack spun, searching the cliffs. Nothing. Then the ground trembled, a low hum rising from below. A crack split the earth, and dark shapes poured out, small, skittering things, black as oil, with too many legs and glowing red eyes. They moved fast, a swarm, their chittering filling the air. Jack's stomach dropped. What the hell are those? Kalia snarled, claws out. Scree. Parasites. They infest, control, destroy. Ellis fired a shot, but the bullet sank into one without effect. Weapons don't work. The swarm surged, splitting to attack humans and Vorn alike. Jack dodged as one leaped at him, its legs slashing. He swung his rifle, smashing it to the ground, but it twitched, reforming. They don't die easy, he yelled. Kalia crushed one underfoot, black goo splattering. They take hosts, turn us into puppets. Her eyes widened. Torek's hunters, they weren't tracking us. The Scree were. Ellis rallied her team. Fall back to the ship. But the swarm cut them off, circling like a living wall. Jack's mind raced. Bullets didn't work, claws barely slowed them. He needed something else. He spotted the wrecked Vorn ships, twisted metal, leaking fuel. Kalia, that energy stuff your spears use, can it burn? She nodded. Hotter than fire. Jack ran to a downed craft, prying open a panel. Wires sparked, and a faint glow pulsed from a cracked core. Perfect, he muttered. He yanked the core free, its heat searing his hands through his gloves. Lyra, help me rig this. The outcast hurried over, her strength steadying the device as Jack worked. We overloaded, make a blast. Heat might fry them. Kalia fought off the scree, her claws a blur. Hurry, human. Ellis joined in, firing to cover them. The swarm pressed closer, some latching onto a human soldier. He screamed, his eyes glazing red as the scree took hold. Kalia ripped the creature off, but more came. Jack's hands flew, twisting wires, forcing the core to hum louder. Almost there. The device sparked, glowing white-hot. Jack shouted, everyone, back. He hurled it into the swarm's center, diving behind a rock with Kalia. The core exploded in a wave of searing light, heat rolling over them. The scree screeched, their bodies melting into puddles. The blast faded, leaving silence, and a crater of charred earth. Jack peeked out, grinning. Boom. Told you I'd build a miracle. Kalia stood, her gaze sweeping the wreckage. Effective. But look. She pointed. Some scree twitched, reforming slowly. Ellis cursed. They're adapting. Jack frowned. Then we need a better weapon. Something they can't shrug off. Kalia's eyes narrowed, catching a glint in the shadows. There, she said, stepping toward a fallen hunter's body. Its armor was cracked, but its eyes glowed red, scree-controlled. She knelt, staring into them. I see it. A signal. They're linked. Jack joined her. Linked? Like a hive? She nodded. Find the source, we stop them. Ellis approached, scanner in hand. She's right. There's a frequency, deep underground. Jack's mind clicked. A queen, maybe. We kill it, the rest collapse. Ellis nodded. Risky. But we're in this together now. She offered Kalia a hand. Truce holds. Kalia took it, her grip firm. For this. The group armed up, humans with rifles, Vorn with spears. Jack scavenged parts from the wrecks, cobbling together a makeshift bomb. Heat didn't finish them, but this'll pack a punch, he said, wiring a fuel canister to a detonator. Kalia watched, impressed. You never stop, do you? He smirked. Not till the job's done. They descended into the crack where the scree emerged, the air growing damp and cold. Glowing webs lined the tunnels, pulsing with red light. The hum grew louder, the walls trembling. Jack clutched his bomb, Kalia at his side. Ready? He asked. Her eyes blazed. Always. Ahead, a chamber loomed, vast, dark, alive. A massive scree hulked in the center, its body a writhing mass of legs and eyes, tendrils snaking out. Smaller screes scurried around it, guarding their queen. Jack tightened his grip. That's our target. Kalia growled low. Then let's end it. The final battle was here, and they'd face it together, human cunning, Vorn strength, one last stand. The chamber pulsed with a sickly red glow, the scree queen towering in the center like a nightmare made real. Its body writhed, a tangle of legs and tendrils, its dozen eyes glaring down at Jack, Kalia, and their makeshift army. Smaller screes skittered around it, their chittering a deafening buzz. Jack held his jury-rigged bomb tight, its weight reassuring despite the chaos. Kalia's claws gleamed, her golden eyes locked on the Queen. "This ends now," she growled. Ella signaled her team, rifles raised. "Spread out, hit the small ones." The outcasts fanned out with her, spears ready. Jack nodded at Kalia. "We take the big one. You distract, I deliver." She bared her fangs. "Don't miss, human." He grinned. "Never do." The fight erupted. Kalia charged, a blur of muscle and fury, leaping onto a tendril. Her claws slashed, black goo spraying as the Queen screeched. Jack darted through the chaos, dodging smaller scree as they lunged. Ellis's team fired, bursts of light cutting down the swarm. Lyra and the outcast stabbed and roared, their strength unstoppable. The chamber shook, webs trembling as the Queen thrashed. Jack ducked a swinging tendril, rolling closer to the Queen's base. Its legs stomped, cracking stone, but Kalia kept it busy, climbing higher, tearing at its eyes. "Now, Jack," she shouted. He primed the bomb, its hum growing sharp. "Here goes nothing." He hurled it, aiming for the Queen's pulsing core. It sailed true, lodging in a mass of flesh. The Queen shrieked, tendrils flailing. Jack dove behind a rock as the bomb beeped, once, twice, then exploded. A blast of fire and force ripped through the chamber, heat scorching the air. The Queen's scream cut off, its body collapsing in a heap of smoking ruin. The smaller scree froze, then melted into puddles, their link severed. Silence fell, broken only by the crackle of dying flames. Jack stood, coughing through the dust. "Told you it'd pack a punch." Kalia dropped beside him, her armor splattered with goo. "You're reckless," she said, but her eyes shone with something like pride. Ellis approached, lowering her rifle. "Effective." "Messy, but effective." The outcasts cheered, their voices echoing off the walls. Lyra raised her spear. "The scree are gone. We're free." Jack wiped his face, grinning at Kalia. "Teamwork makes the dream work, huh?" She snorted, but didn't argue. Ellis holstered her weapon. "You've proven your point, Riley. These Vorn, they're allies, not threats." She turned to Kalia. "Humanity could use your strength. What do you say?" Kalia crossed her arms. "If you respect us, we'll stand with you." The group climbed out of the tunnel, emerging under a sky clearing of storms. The human ship waited, its ramp open. Jack looked at the outcasts, then Kalia. "You coming with us?" he asked. She tilted her head, considering. "Your world, does it have fights like this?" Jack laughed. "Plenty. You'd fit right in." Ellis clapped his shoulder. "We're heading back to base. Report simple, Vorn are partners. You're the bridge, Riley." Jack nodded, feeling the weight of it. He'd crashed here a loner, but now he had a crew, a strange, fierce family. Kalia stepped closer, her presence steady. "You're not weak, Jack." "Strange, but not weak." He smirked. "High praise from you." The ship lifted off, carrying humans and Vorn together. Jack leaned against a window, watching the planet shrink below. The scree were gone, Torax hunters beaten, but the galaxy was big, full of threats and wonders. He glanced at Kalia, her golden eyes catching the starlight. "What's next?" he asked. She smiled, a rare, sharp thing. "More battles. More victories." Jack chuckled. "Sounds like a plan." The ship hummed, streaking toward the stars. They'd won this fight, but the story wasn't over. Humans and Vorn, side by side, ready for whatever came next. Jack's ingenuity, Kalia's strength, it was just the beginning. Back on the planet, the hidden city stood quiet, its machines flickering with new life. The outcast stayed, rebuilding, inspired by the human who defied their world. Jack's crash had sparked something bigger, a bond across species, a future unwritten. The galaxy would hear of it, humanity wasn't alone, and it wasn't weak. With allies like the Vorn, they'd carve their place among the stars. As the ship jumped to lightspeed, Jack rested a hand on the bomb's empty casing, his trophy. Kalia sat beside him, silent but close. The war was won, but the adventure, that was endless. They'd face it together, eyes open, claws and tricks ready. The stars stretched out ahead, infinite and waiting.